Thank you all for coming this morning, and we did start early, and I appreciate your being here. We're going to celebrate the importance of women's leadership and fellowship, and we're going to join in dialogue with some of the foremost experts of today on significant topics that affect each one of us. We wouldn't be here today without the support of our anniversary sponsors. They believe in supporting women's advancement, and we are particularly grateful for the leadership in this regard of Lockheed Martin, who's our golden sponsor, and you may have seen their sponsorship page inside our program. And I also want to thank Nancy Zusen-Schlegel, who's a member of our board and who's ably representing Lockheed Martin. Nancy, would you stand up, please? And we'd also like to thank CH2M, which leads our leadership circle and is ably represented by Teresa Lohr. Teresa, would you stand up wherever you are? I'm going to ask our generous benefactors to stand as I call their names: NAFSA, the Association of International Educators, the Embassy of the State of Qatar, and United Technology. Would you all please stand? Thank you. Our anniversary hosts include the Anne and Ronald Abramson Family Foundation, ConocoPhillips, Donna McClarty, the Embassy of the United Arab Emirates, General Mills, Henrietta Wholesome IV, Maxine Isaacs, the Ratner Family Foundation, and our own wonderful chair, Ann Stock. We are grateful to all our supporters and our special friends listed in your program, as well as all our advertisers in our journal. And I would commend you to take a look at our program, which has been ably designed and executed by our excellent student interns. Without the work of the Anniversary Committee, whose names are listed in your program, and the support of the Board of Directors, but particularly the tireless, passionate, and creative genius of our co-friender and my personal friend, Patricia Ellis. She's a super organized woman who has just put us in the front pages. Our Associate Director, Kimberly Kaunhauser, is one of the most organized and calm women that I know, and she succeeds in selecting some of the most talented interns that we've had over the past 20 years. But without the unwavering leadership of our chair, Ann Stock, none of us would have been able to pull off this conference and this evening's reception at the Embassy of Finland, where I hope we'll see you all to end the day. So now let me introduce the talented, dauntless chair of the Women's Foreign Policy Group, Ann Stock. Ann, we are sure, will lead us in the next 20 years, or at least the beginning of their next 20 years, to even new and better paths to equip the next generation of women leaders with the support, friendship that they all deserve. Ann is well equipped for that special role with the Women's Foreign Policy Group. She's a doer. She has an illustrious career in government and business. She served as an Assistant Secretary of State for Education and Cultural Affairs. She was Vice President at the John F. Kennedy Center for Performing Arts. She was a White House Social Secretary, Vice President at Bloomingdale's, and Deputy Press Secretary to Vice President Walter Mondale. This is a woman who's done it all, and we're delighted to have her as our chair. Ann, will you please come up?
Frankly, I just hope to be alive in 20 years. And I'm not kidding. I'm getting older by the minute. Good morning, Your Excellencies, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you, Dawn, where are you, for chairing today's conference and for setting a stage on what I know will be an incredibly creative day. It promises to be truly remarkable. Let me also add my thanks to each and every one of you from the bottom of my heart. Your support ensures that women's voices will be heard on all foreign policy issues. Also, join me in thanking my board for their time, energy, and active involvement with me today, and I just mentioned their names because I want you to meet them, and they actually would really love to meet you. Carolyn Brem, Elizabeth Buemiller, Dawn Calabia, Patricia Ellis, Kate Irvin, Gail Leftwich-Kitch, Teresa Lohr, Jibby Martinez, Donna McClarty, who also has 2 tables of rising stars with us today, Diana Negroponte, Nancy Zusen-Schlegel, and Marcia Wiss. In 1995, 2 visionary women, Ambassador Julia Chang Block, a veteran of government service, and Patricia Ellis, who you just heard about, a foreign affairs reporter for the McNeil-Lehrer NewsHour, started the Women's Foreign Policy Group around Julia's kitchen table, where some of the best ideas often start in all of our lives. They created a new platform for women leaders to address major foreign policy issues and foster rich dialogue across all sectors. Our founders stressed networking, professional development, and mentoring, shamelessly, and I mean shamelessly, emulating the old boys network. When Julia left for a diplomatic assignment, Patricia and Pauline Baker, who's here today, became the group's first co-chairs. They built this organization to spotlight women's expertise and points of view. Major foreign policy issues have been debated and discussed, from Afghanistan, China, Cuba, India, the Middle East, Russia, the Ukraine, Somalia, and Sudan, to the current plight of Syrian refugees and European migrants. Members, and a number of you have heard from secretaries of state and other high-ranking government officials, members of Congress, senators, heads of government, foreign ministers, ambassadors, UN leaders, corporate executives, and award-winning journalists. That's one of our hallmarks, that you get to be so up close and personal with people that are making policy for us and are involved in foreign policy around the world. We also maximized our modest resources and had a very secret weapon to help us: our board, staff, membership, and friends who provided mentoring to over 5,000, and I repeat, 5,000 graduates and undergraduates. We sponsored and trained 200 interns, introducing them to foreign policy issues and the nonprofit world. Mentoring the next generation is central to our mission, and many of them are here today, and I really want all of the young people to stand and let us see who you are. And you're going to be shy, so get up, stand. They're not standing. Come on, there are lots of them in the room. Thanks also to the numerous businesses, the diplomatic corps, foundations, governments, donors, NGOs, and think tanks. We've partnered with 70 different institutions on outreach, development, and incredible education programs. Today, we celebrate our accomplishments and firmly recommit to our future mission. There's so much more to be done, and we're eager to expand financial support for interns and fellows, mentor many more young women, increase our online presence, and provide more affordable and accessible career-enhancing events for beginning and mid-career professionals. If you're not a member, consider joining us. By learning and working together, we can and will break through that glass ceiling for women in the foreign policy arena and ensure our place at the table, at the podium, and in the front office. Come on, girls, let's do it. I'm sorry, I should have said women. And it's now my privilege to, but I still like to be called a girl. It's now my privilege to introduce the person who has made this all possible, Patricia Ellis. She came, yeah, let's do that. She came to Washington to pursue a career in journalism. In fact, Secretary Albright, and this is a big credit Pats for first putting her on TV and making the secretary famous. That's quite a mark. Fortunately for us, her vision, determination, contacts, and perseverance built this organization. Each year, she plans, organizes, and moderates dozens of events, State Department briefings, mentoring fairs, our ever-popular celebration of women diplomats, the Embassy Series, networking nights, and our always sold-out luncheon for women journalists. She has led this organization with energy and a knack for putting people and ideas together. Today's conference is a perfect example. Please join me in welcoming and thanking Patricia Ellis, our co-founder and president, to the podium.
Thank you, Anne, for that lovely introduction. I'm thrilled that all of you could join us today and show your support for the Women's Foreign Policy Group, women's leadership, and the next generation. It's really hard to believe it's 20 years. I was just talking to Pauline, my co-chair there, and we just can't believe it. Anyhow, this year has been a year of amazing programs, and as Anne referred, I'll just quickly mention, I mean, we've covered all the hot issues in the news: Russia, Ukraine, Germany, Cuba, ISIS. Our embassy series is just going strong and will culminate with a wonderful event tonight at the Embassy of Finland. But we've been hosted by the ambassadors of Ireland, Japan, Italy, Spain, France, Monaco, to mention a few. We heard from National Security Advisor Susan Rice, and many prominent journalists, and also mentored so many future leaders. And what's been wonderful about working on this conference also is being able to reconnect with lots of old friends, one of which I just mentioned, Pauline Baker. She was the first co-chair. She's the president emeritus of the Fund for Peace, and also someone who is not here yet but probably will be here later, Tom Hughes, who was then the president of the Carnegie Endowment for International Peace. He believed in us when we were not known, a small group, and he let us meet at Carnegie, and for that we were forever grateful. And I'm just so glad to see so many people we haven't seen in a while, and also to welcome back many of our former interns and staff. It's fantastic to see you all. Want to once again thank our corporate members and, of course, our sponsors for their very, very generous support. Most of all, special thanks go to Dawn Calabia, who you heard at the very beginning. She is not only the chair of the anniversary committee and has done a fantastic job and worked so hard along with the committee and Ann Stock to make this possible, but she's also our treasurer, a very important job. But most of all, I want to thank Kimberly Conhauser, who worked so hard on coordinating this event with assistance from great interns. So we've come a long way in 20 years, from the kitchen table to a dynamic and respected organization. I just want to thank all of you for your part that you have played in this journey, and for getting us to where we are today and for where we're going tomorrow, wherever that may be, but I'm sure it will be something very exciting, building on all that we've done to date. For me, it's just been an incredible opportunity and privilege to direct the Women's Foreign Policy Group, to see it grow, flourish. It has been an adventure. It's been entrepreneurial, challenging, creative, and it's been very heartening to see women advance in foreign affairs as secretaries of state, ambassadors, foreign ministers, government officials, in the NGO corporate world as well, and also to see the young people working their way up the ranks. And you know, from the start, we made it possible for women's voices to be heard on important foreign policy issues, and we still have not run out of fantastic speakers, as evidenced by this conference today. It's just amazing, and we're so excited to have these wonderful speakers and moderators, and really appreciate their taking the time. The other thing that we did that I just want to mention quickly, because networking is key, is that we pioneered a network across all sectors, so people can interact with people who they should interact with but don't get a chance to meet. And as was said from the beginning, always committed to to mentoring the next generation, and also to partnerships. That has been one of the ways that we have been able to succeed through our partnerships with think tanks, other NGOs, the diplomatic community, which has led to the Embassy Series, Celebration of Women Diplomats, the State Department briefings we have, and lastly, the Headline Series on the hot issues in the news, my favorite, near and dear to my journalistic background. So speaking of news, it is now my great pleasure to invite Judy Woodruff, the co-anchor and managing editor, to the stage, and then I will ask the other speakers when Judy comes up to join us. Judy is a dear friend. She's so generous with her time. She's moderated many special events for the WFPG over the years, and it's just wonderful to have her back again to celebrate our 20th and also to moderate our first panel, Chaos in the Middle East, What Should the U.S. Do? Judy.
Pat is my dear friend, and this is the way she rewards me for our friendship. I get to talk about the Middle East, but I get to talk about the Middle East with an amazing group of panelists, and you're going to meet them. Come on up. I will introduce all of you in just a moment. I think we know the order. It's Ann Patterson. Okay, got it. I just have to say congratulations to the Women's Foreign Policy Group. I remember listening to Pat Ellis talk about her dream of this group when it was founded more than 20 years ago, and to think that here you are, 20 years later, what you've accomplished. You've all laid it out this morning. It is truly extraordinary what you've done, not only for the discussion around foreign policy, to help make sure that women have a voice in the making of foreign policy and discussions about national security, the fact that you are bringing along the next generation. I love seeing these young women here this morning. You are truly making a difference. You've made a difference, and you're going to go on to do that. You now have the strength and the presence in the foreign policy spectrum, and we know it was a spectrum that didn't always include the voices of women. So I just want to applaud once again the organization and all of your amazing leaders. Let's give them a hand, the people who've made this possible.